Welcome, everyone. It is so good to be here with you and to share this book that I so appreciate. So, the book that we are reviewing today is The Rose That Grew from Concrete by Tupac Shakur. I wanted to share how I was feeling about this book before I get started. Tupac and me, we go way back to 1993, as a matter of fact. As a fan of his music and his movie Juice, I couldn't wait for what was next, to tell you the truth. There was something about the passion he had in his work. A young lady like me back then was put on alert. So it is my honor to share this part of Shakur. I pray it will inspire you forevermore. Hey, I'm Sojourner with Cafe Intrigue's Black Mate series for young men. I want to talk to you today about one of my favorite books because it's written by an artist who I really miss a lot and wish was with us longer because, there was so much that greatness that he provided to the world. But one of those things was The Rose That Grew from Concrete by Tupac Shakur. This is a collection of Tupac's poetry that he was able to share with us posthumously through the poetry group that he worked with when he was 19 years old. So Tupac is writing to us about things that are happening in his life and in his world at the time at 19. He's talking to us about social issues like violence, poverty. He's talking to us about relationships, and we get a really good glimpse of who Tupac is from this work. Let me show you. So this is Tupac's A Rose That Grew from Concrete. And as you can see, it's a pretty quick read. One of the other features that I really enjoy about the book is that you can not only read the printed words, but they have also included Tupac's handwritten text so that you could see his penmanship, and some of his artwork throughout the book is really interesting to see, and it's something to enjoy. Now, the reason why I recommend this book, and I know that for some people who are familiar with Tupac, you might think that this is not the kind of book that maybe young men should be reading. You might have some concerns about that, the language, but I'll tell you that this book, I would say, I would recommend for high school males and older. And that's why I've included it in the box set for the young men, because it speaks to some things that they are experiencing, perhaps things that they are going through, and young men all over the world, but especially young black men. And we get it from Tupac's perspective. In the section, Nothing Can Come Between Us, Tupac goes from crushing on Irene, like he's digging this girl named Irene in one of his poems, to reminiscing about a young lady named Carmen, and then we really think he's gonna marry this girl April, right? But then in the next poem, something happens. Something happens between him and April, and I don't know, but he's alluding to some things that he may have done that kind of, messed up the relationship. So he and April apparently didn't have a future after these things happened. But when he's talking about Tears from a Star, it's like, what happened, Tupac? But it's really, I think that young men can get a lot out of this book. Just the very title of it, A Rose That Grew from Concrete, really talks about how Tupac came from, his origins should maybe have not led to him being this mega star that he was, this legend that he became. there was so many things that kind of was a perfect storm that led him to be with us in the way that he was and sharing his gift to the world. And so when you think about that image, the rose that grew from concrete, and you think about what it would take for something like that to happen. Roses normally grow in a bush. How would the rose grow from concrete? Something so splendid and exquisite, and what we think of as a symbol of love, a lot of times we share roses with people to as a symbol of love. And so when we think about the metaphor that's used here, the rose growing from concrete, growing in this situation that almost seems impossible to yield something so beautiful that can be shared, and then that story to be shared, I think there's a lot to be gained from the rose that grew from concrete. It within itself is a work that we may have never had a chance to have, should it have not been for people who thought that the world should have it. And that's something that I'm truly grateful for. So I look forward to sharing this work with you and the discussion that we will have on the many pieces within it. And I'll leave you with this from the rose that grew from concrete. Did you hear about the rose that grew from concrete? Did you hear about the rose that grew from a crack in the concrete? Proving nature's laws wrong, it learned to walk without having feet. And I won't read the whole piece to you because it's a short piece, and I would love for you to read it yourself and tell me what you think, as well as the other pieces that are in the book. So I'm hoping that we'll have a chance to discuss it in full at a time soon.